So today I'm going to explain to you what it meant when Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dirt at the time when the woman was caught in adultery and brought to him to be judged. Now I know that you've heard the very, very popular one that was made up a long time ago by a Catholic actually, and it's spread like wildfire by the Protestants. They love it. But I want to use Scripture to explain it, because it's actually mentioned in Scripture in the Old Testament. What Jesus was doing was drawing their attention to the passages in the Old Testament that all of them were familiar with, especially those who wanted to stone her based on the law of Moses, and they weren't wrong to want to stone her. So get that out of your head. They weren't wrong to want to stone her if they had 2 or 3 witnesses, but also if another condition were previously fulfilled to that. And that's what Jesus drew attention to, not by writing in the dirt, but by what he said to them. All right, so we're actually going to start in Jeremiah, so let's get into it. I've got a fresh translation of a few verses from the Septuagint into English for the rooted word. In Jeremiah 17, 12 through 14, then verse 29 in chapter 23. So let's get started. It says, "A throne of glorious reputation, which is patiently remaining humbly under, is our holiness. A patiently remaining humbly under of Israel, O Lord. All those leaving you in synchronicity must be humiliated in synchronicity. Having been stood off from, they must be written upon the ground, that they in synchronicity within leave a fountain of life, the Lord. You must heal me, O Lord, and I will be healed. You must save me, and I will be saved, that you are being my boast." Now, isn't that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? That if we are claiming holiness, but we are not patiently remaining humbly under, we're lying. That patiently remaining humbly under is our holiness. It is a throne of glorious reputation, it says. And all of those who are leaving God, all of those who interiorly are departing from the fountain of life, who is the Lord, must be humiliated in the same synchronicity in which they are leaving and departing from that fountain of life, the Lord. And I'm speaking to you, apostate Christians, and all of those apostate churches across America who preach the false gospel. You have left the fountain of life, the Lord, and have no holiness. I'm not saying it so that you will be forever damned and condemned. I'm saying it because you are standing in condemnation and eternal damnation already. And I wish that you would be healed and saved. But you don't hear it that way. You hear it like I'm putting shackles on your feet and chaining you to the rocks of hell. That's how you hear it. So interiorly, you're in synchronicity with all the others, leaving the fountain of life, the Lord. Now, in Jeremiah 23:29, it says, "In this way, my laid forth words, the Lord is laying forth. You must not be seeing my laid forth words so much as a fire, as also in that manner an axe chopping a stone." You say, that's odd. Yes, but keep it in mind when I read John 8 about the woman caught in adultery. You must not be seeing my laid forth words so much as a fire, which brings condemnation because of your sin, as also in that manner as an axe chopping a stone, the thing that is going to destroy you because of the condemnation you're under. Mercy. John 8. But Jesus went to the Mount of Olives. Now early in the morning, he came again into the temple. And all the people came to him, and he sat down and taught them. Then the scribes and Pharisees brought to him a woman caught in adultery, and when they had set her in the midst, they said to him, Teacher, this woman was caught in adultery in the very act. Now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what do you say? Well, let's see what Moses said. It says in Deuteronomy 17, starting in verse 6, He shall die on the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. A man who is put to death shall not be put to death for 1 witness. And the hand of the witnesses shall be upon him among the first to put him to death, and the hand of the people at the last. So shalt thou remove the evil one from among yourselves. Okay? First off, there need to be 2 or 3 witnesses. Second off, they have to be the first ones to cast the stone. And thirdly, the purpose is to put the evil one out from among them. So if one of them who are witnesses is also evil, he cannot cast the first stone. He's got to be stoned as well. Okay? So we know that. So here he says, they say, now Moses in the law commanded us that such should be stoned, but what do you say? So they're referring to this, exactly this. Okay? This they said, testing him, that they might have something of which to accuse him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground. The word ground there is the same word that's in Jeremiah. And in Jeremiah, it's mistranslated in the King James and New King James as earth. Now, in English, we can cut some slack because in English, especially the older English, although New King James is 1979, but in the older English, like King James English, earth, and it does in English in some contexts, it means ground also, like dirt. Okay? But that word can refer to the earth, like the land of the earth, not the whole earth like sky and land and sea, but the earth like the land. Or it can refer to a country, like the ground that the country is on. Or it can refer to the ground you walk on or the soil that you plant in. This is a very versatile word, but it's limited in its versatility to specific instances that are related. Jesus stooped down and wrote on the ground with his finger as though he did not hear. Okay? They must be written upon the ground. Who? Those who are leaving the Lord in synchronicity must be written upon the ground. Jesus is indicating that those who have brought this woman to him to be stoned to death, they themselves have in synchronicity been leaving the Lord. And that's why he's writing them on the ground, to indicate that. Then he says, so when they continued asking him, he raised himself up and said to them, He who is without sin among you, let him throw a stone at her first. Remember that the witnesses, the 2 or 3 witnesses, are to throw the stone first. But the purpose is to get rid of the evil one from among them. So they themselves, if they are sinning, are evil and cannot cast the first stone. Because the point of casting the stone is to get rid of the evil one from among them. And an evil one is not worthy to cast the first stone to get rid of an evil one from among them. Jesus, Matthew 7, starting in verse 1. If you want to take the splinter out of your brother's eye, the sin, you must first remove the plank out of your own eye, the sin. You cannot cast the stone judging your brother's sin until you have removed the sin from your own eye. Whether we're talking about judging him on his sin or helping him with the sin, doesn't matter. You're still judging the sin. Because how can you help him if you don't judge what is sin and what is not? And how to help him. And if you have sin in your own eye, you're evil also. You do not get to cast the first stone. And there were none there that could, because Jesus was writing in the dirt their names. Their names. Not the names of their sin, as that thing goes that's passing around the Protestant churches. But according to Jeremiah, Jesus was doing what the prophet said in advance. He was writing their name in the ground. Now, let's go back to that Jeremiah 23:29. It says, "You must not be seeing the laid forth word of me so much as a fire." It is a fire. It does condemn. As also in that manner an axe chopping a stone. A stone that's going to be hurled at you. For after writing the names in the ground, in Jeremiah, he also says, "You must heal me, O Lord, and I will be healed. You must save me, and I will be saved, that you are being my boast." What did Jesus do? He took an axe and broke the stone for the woman. But he didn't leave it at that, because Deuteronomy 17 says why the stone is there. The stone is to get rid of the evil one from among you. And if you can get rid of it with fire, then get rid of it with fire. If you can get rid of it with the axe, get rid of it with the axe. The axe is mercy, breaking the stone. So Jesus got rid of the evil one from among them with mercy by saying, "Neither do I condemn you, only go and sin no more." "Woman, where are your accusers? Those accusers of yours? Has no one condemned you?" She said, "No one, Lord." And Jesus said to her, "Neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more." Jesus got rid of the evil one from among them, not by killing her with a stone, which he could have, or he could have ordered it to be done also. But none of them were without sin, so they were all evil. So they had no right to cast the first stone, even if they were witnesses. Because the point of casting the stone is to get rid of the evil one from among you. And that wouldn't have achieved it. Because the one casting the stone would have been evil, because they had sin that they hadn't stopped. You got to pay attention to these things. You don't see it, you from the apostate churches, because you don't think you can stop sinning as long as you're alive. But the Bible says differently from cover to cover. And if you watch these videos, we read that. In the New Testament, it is point blank, it's direct, and you miss it. Awake to righteousness and do not sin. Oh, who said that in the Bible? Awake to righteousness and do not sin. Do not sin. I say this to your shame, because some are without the knowledge of God. Hold on a minute. You have the knowledge of God, so you shouldn't be sinning. Because some don't have the knowledge of God, and they have an excuse because they don't know. But you know, and you're sinning. Awake to righteousness and do not sin. Who said that? Paul. Paul said that to the Corinthians. Are you shocked? It is so direct. And yet you go around claiming you cannot help but sin. You can't stop sinning as long as you're in the body. Paul says you're a liar. Paul commands you to stop sinning. He's not the only one. Now you know, though. Here is a beautiful connection here of what Jesus was fulfilling from the prophets. May the Lord bless you with mercy as you seek Him with all your heart.